All right, everybody, we're out on location. I'm doing something very different today. I'm just doing an audio recording of myself while we're getting this set up here. So we're putting out some ground control point targets this morning on a location called Paul Spur Drive. And so you hear me sorting through things here, just getting this all ready to go. All right, Jody's also going to be doing a little filming, so we're not syncing this part with you. This is not being synced up, so just giving you a heads up there. But we're going to try here to do these right. So I feel like I'm talking to myself. But I just grabbed 6 ground control points out of the vehicle. And there's 5, 4. So this is a really small property that we're on right now, but I just wanted to do a model before everything got well underway. Now, we're talking GCPs here today. That's part of today's talk. And the ground control points and the targets are only as good as the equipment that you're using. So if you're trying to get extreme accuracy, you're going to need a GPS that is highly accurate. So of course the price on these types of things goes up immensely. And we're going to be using an iPhone today with an iPhone altimeter and GPS. So I'm setting out target number 0 right now. And I can already tell you when we get into the rest of this video, this is not going to be great and accurate. So just putting out ground control points, putting the targets out, is just the first step in the process. So if you're really getting serious with the mapping and modeling, you're going to need to consider the types of ground control targets you want to use and also the GPS system that you're going to use. So right now I'm actually breaking out my iPhone. We'll put some clips of this up for you. And I'm getting the altitude and the GPS coordinates. So I'll do a screen cap of that for you right there. Hopefully we're putting together some interesting stuff. Jody's behind me with her M50 Mark II. We're just placing a couple more of these, and I'm keeping them to the property edges as well. I want to make sure that they're also not in shadow. So this is just the beginning with me walking around the property here. We'll be flying the property, and for this one, since it's such a small location, we're going to go ahead and use Map Pilot Pro from Maps Made Easy. So everybody, I'm trying something new. I don't want to set up a million cameras today while we're actually out here doing the job, but I thought you could follow along here and that this might be of interest. Like I said, these ground control targets are just the beginning. You really want, for doing the ground control points, you want something much more accurate than just an iPhone. All right, so here we are back in the office, and I've got a couple of things up on screen for you. On the left-hand side, I've got a folder with the images from one of the properties that we flew, and that was the property that I was just talking about in the previous segment while we were walking around the job site. So in total, for this very small property, let's go ahead and see here, and we have 78 images captured for this small site. And this is a sub 1 acre site, so not surprising. By the way, the mission was flown at 175 feet above ground level. So we've got some data that we can now put into WebODM, because we're using WebODM for this example. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about the ground control points and what I was doing today. So I do get a lot of questions from people, can you show us ground control points? And it's not this simple little package. So, and we're going through this one quickly. I am going to be doing a much longer series of videos on getting accurate ground control points. But so for example, for this one, I've got my iPhone up on screen right now so that we can see it. And as I was talking about in the field segment, I was using an application called My Altitude. So you can see My Altitude right here on screen, and we're just pulling that up. So we're in here in the office at the moment, and I'm not getting satellite signal because I've got a roof over my head. So this is actually on and live and active, but I just wanted to show you a couple things and show you what we were doing out in the field. So right now I am getting some GPS information. So this is suggesting to me that my current altitude, so above sea level, is 1657 meters. And above this, it's telling me this is accurate to plus or minus 8 meters. That's somewhere in the neighborhood of 24 feet. That's a big deviation there. So this is not a professional grade GPS that I'm using right now to document these ground control points, but it's something that I brought along with me. Now, I know a lot of people who are asking questions about ground control points. You haven't invested in, let's say, the Phantom 4 Pro RTK version. You haven't gone out and gotten a mapping GPS or a surveying GPS, and the prices get up there pretty quick. So I was using this as an example of how you might start out in your own testing. I've also got a little Garmin handheld that I use for mountain biking and hiking, and that thing is still not, 100% accurate either. The second issue here, for getting really accurate locations, I did degrees decimal here for latitude and longitude, so 34.5493. One thing that needs to be said about this here is that the degrees decimal actually has a couple more decimal places. So this thing is rounded stuff up or rounded stuff down. So right away, I know I'm not getting that exact location, and that's going to be problematic. Right now, with the GPS signal that we have that I'm getting through the ceiling here, is plus or minus 5 meters is what it's suggesting. So once again, that's another 15 feet. So if you're putting these targets out, but the error could be 15 feet, the ground control points aren't buying us too much. But I wanted to show you how you can capture some ground control points and then get them into WebODM and use them with WebODM. So that was the whole purpose of this video here today. So right now, I'm going to upper right-hand corner on my altitude, and you'll see I made some markers. So we've got P2, P1, P4, P3, P0, and then we've got some E's as well. So the P's were for one property, the Paul Spur property, and the E's were for the El Capitan property. So that's what we've got going on here. And it shows you the potential altitude that you were at above sea level. I'm just going to tap into one of these, and you'll see what it did is it saved for me the location and altitude. So there's altitude right there, and there's our location with our latitude and longitude. Once again, all of these things have some pretty major deviations in them. So am I going to trust them wholly? Probably not. But the entire idea of this was to show you the workflow. So if you were to go out in the field, let's say with a higher end GPS unit, like the Juniper Geode, for instance, you're going to have much more accuracy at each of the targets that you lay out. So there we go. So right now, where we're located here, let's pretend that I'm in the field. I can go to the upper right bar. I can tap the plus symbol, give it a name, and there's the latitude and longitude and altitude that it thinks that I'm at. And I can tell you the altitude's off by about 3 meters here. So that's just my knowing the location. So this should be basically at 1650 meters. So there you go. So, okay, I just wanted to show you what we were capturing those ground control point targets with. So with the iPhone and with an OK app, but when we're doing this kind of work, OK is not OK enough. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and minimize this one, and we're going to stop that screen share. Well, actually, we won't stop the screen share yet. Let's pull this up, shall we? And let's go ahead and stop the screen mirroring. So there we go. All right. From that information, from those data points that I collected with the iPhone, I created a text file. And this is according to WebODM, how they set up their text files. And I'm just going to, let's make this a little bigger so that you can see this. So here we go. The information recorded on the iPhone with the my altitude was taken and populated into a text file here. This is a space delimited text file. So every time we have a space, it's a different category. So you can see first we've got our ground control point target 0. Then we've got longitude, negative 112.565138. And then we have the latitude as well. And then we have the recorded elevation as well. So one thing you might note on my altitude, it didn't give me this full field. It only gave me the first 4, but I actually did a little extra to get those last 2 digits. We're not going to talk about that right now, but I actually did find a way to get the full degrees decimal here. And so that'll get us a little closer, but still not perfect. So I literally sat down and typed in all of these items. And then what we're going to do next is we're actually going to take a look at WebODM's GCP tool. So I'm going to pause this video for a moment and get us set up with WebODM and their GCP tool to give you an idea of what this is doing for us. So here we are, WebODM has booted up for us, and you can't tell, I already ran through these and did some tests, but you'll get to see those later. Right now, I want to talk about the GCP interface because this is a very interesting interface from WebODM. So they have the GCP ground control points, and there's no points here right now. They actually give you directions. So connect at least 5 high contrast objects and 3 or more photos to their corresponding locations on the map. That sounds simple enough. Set a point at an image, set a corresponding point on the map, repeat as desired. So, and then generate the ground control point file. So you're saying to yourself, well, wait a minute, don't you have a ground control point file? Yeah, I've got the start of a ground control point file for WebODM. What we do is we actually are going to drag this particular text file in, and that is going to show us some points on a map. So I'm going to close this here really quick, and I'm just going to grab the text file out here on the right hand side, load an existing control file. So here we go. And so this is the format that that WebODM likes this. So we've got our target, and then we've got longitude and latitude flipped, and then we've got our elevation in meters from our measurement points. I'm going to go ahead and load this. And now you see on the right-hand side, GCP 0, GCP 1, GCP 2, 3, 4, and 5. And these are looking pretty good. They're close to being accurate here. We can even look on this window. Let's look at the satellite version really quick. And actually, it's not going to open the satellite version for me right now. So, okay. Let's go ahead and close that map really quick. I'm going to zoom this back out. Generally, though, I already know the area pretty well. This is pretty darn close. So those GPS coordinates that we put in here, captured with the iPhone and my altitude, didn't do a bad job. So what's our next step? We need to associate some of our images taken, and those images did capture the ground control point. So here's all these different images. I'm gonna go in and pick one at random here. So what's this showing me? I got 0, I've got 1, I've got 4, I've got 5, so I'm missing 2 and 3. That looks pretty good to me. Let's see which direction this was going in. Okay, there's 2 and 3 now. So I'm going to grab a couple. So let's grab 3 of these. And you can do more, but this is just for demonstration purposes. So on that ground control point interface, it says to get 3 or more photos at least. So here we go. We're bringing in 3 photos. And now I have the 3 photos. So what we're going to do is we're going to match the targets on the photos with the targets from our GCP file. So let's open this first one here. And you'll notice it's popped something up. I'm going to go ahead, and this is a weirdness with WebODM. It doesn't put those in perfectly, but you can go ahead and delete those out. But what we can see here, there is GCP target number 4. I can grab the plus symbol, and I'm going to go right down. So I'm being a little sloppy about this. We're not being perfectionists here because this is us testing things out and you seeing how these go. So I just associated GCP for the image with the GCP for out here. We can also go grab some others. So there's GCP 5. Let's zoom in, you'll notice all these other stakes out there. Those stakes are for the builders as well. So we did not capture any of those. And I'm going to click on the image now for GCP5, and GCP5 is in the center here. So now those are associated. By the way, notice that we have 2 green dots here now. So it's saying that we've got 2 items correlated so far. And we're going to get a third and a fourth here by grabbing GCP1 and GCP0. So right here, let's add another control point. There we go. And so that's GCP1, and there it is on the map. All right, and now I also know that GCP0 is available for us as well. So I'm going to zoom that in a little more and scroll over. And we're going to grab this again, and there we go. Let's go to GCP0 here too. So now we have 4 associated items on here for the first image. I'm going to arrow back, and you will notice on the first image, it's telling me that it has 4 items associated. So doing pretty good. Let's go into that second one, shall we? And I'm going to just delete and deselect that first thing. And let's zoom this out a little bit. And as you can see here, we've now got 2 and 3 out in the distance. So let's go ahead and go to GCP2 here. Once again, I'm not being perfect on this, and we're going to think up GCP2. So you can spend a lot more time on this. And if you do have accurate GPS information, a higher end GPS, or maybe you're using the Phantom 4 Pro RTK setup, that would work out as well. So let's zoom ourselves back out here again, and let's go ahead to 5. So here we go. We're going to select 5 here. I'm going to select 5 here. All right, looking good. And we also have 4 and 1, so we're getting a lot of the GCPs here. So let's add one right here, GCP4 and GCP4. So now we've got 4 locked up, and let's go over to 1 as well. And by the way, so the resolution on this, very nice. We can really see the detail on this map, and this is with a Mavic 2 Pro. So let's select this one right here, and associate it with GCP1 there. So now we've got 2 of our images. One has 4, one has 5. So let's go to the next one. And I didn't mean to do that. I just gave it a double click. So it was kind of a select all there. All right, let's delete this. And let's look out here again. So there's GCP3. So since GCP3 is already highlighted, let's go ahead and grab that one and pop it right there on GCP3. So there's the first one. Let's move over here to 2. We're going to do that again, clicking right on the map. And so that's 2 right there. Let's head on over to 5. There we go. And so this is very repetitive, and you can fast forward through this part if you want to, and we'll get up to the next part. But so this is what I went through and did after we directly returned to the office. I sat down to play with this first one, and now I can pop it on there, and that's 1, and there's 1. And let's go ahead and get 4 just because we want to. So I'm doing the bare minimum here right now. And this is, like I said, just a demo for you. So we have now taken 3 images and associated some points. The next step to get the file properly set up for WebODM is to export this file. So it's going to put it in terms that WebODM works with better. So that little file that we created extrapolated this data right here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And it's actually saved it to my downloads file. I could also copy this to copy and paste somewhere if I wanted to. But I'm going to close that. I'm going to go down to my downloads file. And let's find that. And you will see right in here, GCP file with a bunch of numbers here, .txt. And so this is the GCP file that WebODM is going to appreciate us using. So I'm going to drag this out onto my desktop just to make it available to me, and not have it inside of uh, inside my downloads. So my next step here would be to go to the dashboard. And so it's North Paul Spur. So I already ran this once, but I'm just going to show this to you. North Paul Spur GCP. So I'm going to create this new project, and I called it North Paul Spur GCP. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take all of our images, and I'm going to scroll down. And by the way, I already generated another GCP file. There it is right there. And so we're going to import things. So you'll see here, NPS GCP, that I have a select images and GCP. There we go. So I can select the images for the model and the file that I made for the GCP. So I'm going to say select that. And there we go. There's the folder. So I'd already opened it to it. And I'm selecting all of the images captured at the site. And I'm selecting that GCP file as well, which should help with some corrections. So now I'm going to hit open on this. And once I've opened it, it's the standard WebODM where we can go through different options, default, high resolution, etc. And when it's processing this for us, it's going to be processing not only our images, but that ground control point file as well. So if we had a really accurate GPS in this situation, we'd probably be just about spot on. So I'm going to pause the video here. We're not going to run the whole process here, but I am going to show you the file that I already previously ran with the GCP file. So I'm going to stop this for a moment and we'll resume with that one. All right, so here we are back at the screen again. I just wanted to minimize and close up a couple of things. So North Paul Spur I ran previously, and I ran it with the GPC file as well. So this crazy file with all this data, you'll see how GCP4 appears in multiple things, GCP1 appears in multiple things, GCP5, 2, and 3. I would want to use several more of the images and tying some more of those ground control points together. But like I said, this is for demo purposes. This is to get you thinking about how you get ground control points into your WebODM, and also thinking about how down the road you'd like more accurate GCPs as well, especially not using an iPhone as your GPS. So under the North Pole Spur, we had our tasks here. And under that, we did some simple ones. We did the default setup, so an auto boundary on it, and a digital surface model as well. We can now pull up the map. We're not going to see the GCPs here, but we are going to see the map overlay on Google Earth, of course. And you can see this is still imperfect. So running over here, things are not lining up perfectly. It's definitely off by several feet, without a doubt. Coming down to the bottom area here where the maps seam together, once again, this is off by a couple of feet. Now, ground control points should be able to help us mitigate these issues and be closer to accurate on a mapping area. But remember, I was not using a quality GPS for this, so I'm just happy that it didn't throw me halfway across the screen. Overall, some things still line up pretty nicely. If I go to this home here and we drop the opacity, we can see it's definitely, maybe we're looking at 2 to 3 feet of inaccuracy from that rooftop. So while imperfect, still pretty darn close. Keep in mind also that the majority of my clients are just looking for before and after orthomosaics to track the progress of their sites. They're not using what we're providing for accurate measurement tools or anything. We always let them know that if they want more accuracy, we're going to have to be doing a higher end process and utilizing some additional equipment. But I just wanted to take you through the whole process here, give you an idea of what happened in the field, what happens when we get back to the office, and starting to set up these ground control points. So down the road, we will be doing another video where we're using a much higher end mapping GPS. And when we do that, we'll see that ground control points can help us get more accurate as well. The other part, the other big part for me is the altitude, and the altitude information coming out of the Mavic 2 Pro is sometimes very far off. So my biggest concern is I would like to get my altitude information much more accurate. And once again, that goes along with the GCPs as well, because remember, we were also including altitude in meters as well in that one. So keeping that in mind, that's what I'm really after with ground control points for my work. But if we get more clients looking for more accurate modeling and they have an interest, maybe in volumetric analysis and things, that's where these ground control points are going to come in, or something on the order of the Phantom 4 RTK setup as well. All right, everyone, I didn't mean to make this one so super long, but I did want to get you through the whole process. So I hope that this was helpful for you and useful. And as always, please like and subscribe down below. Also consider checking out our Patreon channel, and the Patreon link is Patreon/Rich Charpentier. All right, everyone, we're going to be dashing off here. We've got a couple more videos to get done today, and I actually have some work with these particular files for setting up some new projects for our clients and getting our See My Build web pages ready for those clients. See y'all again real soon, and have an awesome week.